Newgrounds is a website, largely forgotten by now. But back in the early 2000s, when other eventual dominators like YouTube and Facebook were just beginning their growth, this small one-man startup was blooming at the center of the creative part of the internet. Thousands of people were sharing their songs, their movies, and their artworks on the site. And during this time, a certain musician rose to huge fame. A journey that began with simple techno loops, quickly evolving into one of the most famous artists on the entire website. This is the story of Dimrain47. Dimrain47, also known as Clayton Judd, was born in 1988. At the age of 11 in 1999, he became interested in music when he started playing trumpet in his school band. This interest quickly bloomed into pure passion and enthusiasm for music, and he started trying out his skills on other instruments as well. After he took piano lessons for 6 months at the age of 15, he started writing his own songs. On June 6, 2005, Clayton made his account for Newgrounds.com under the alias Dimrain47 and became interested in the trance and techno submissions he found there. After asking around for help on trying to make his own, he downloaded a demo of ImageLine's FL Studio and began experimenting. And on August 6, 2005, he uploaded the piece Midnight Siege to Newgrounds. It was a short techno song, at 2 minutes long and featuring only 7 sounds in total. But even with being the first song Dimrain had ever made, it still displayed a lot of the key traits that Dimrain songs would come to be recognized for. Fast melodies, simple bass lines, basic beats, and of course, a bunch of arpeggios. After Midnight Siege, Dimrain started making more and more songs, and along with them started quickly garnering a fanbase. Songs like Twilight Techno, Surface, and Infernoplex became instant hits and over time have become all-time classics on the entire website. His fast and energetic style became an instant hit, and a lot of his songs hit platinum, gold, and even diamond. All of them had a score above 4.2, a massive achievement, and had a lot of praising reviews. One by one, his songs reached hundreds, then thousands of downloads and listens. A lot of people became big fans of Dimrain and looked forward to all his new tracks. But unfortunately, with a lot of fans, also inevitably comes a lot of haters. While every person with even a moderate fanbase has haters, Dimrain had perhaps an unusual amount. All of his songs and forum posts got a lot of hate comments and a lot of big artists were against him. There's a few reasons for this. First off, people felt like Dimrain didn't put effort into his songs. He used almost exclusively pre-made sounds from FL Studio, and his mixing and mastering were not up to professional standards, with a lot of instruments messily blending together and volume levels being inconsistent. Secondly, people just felt like he got too popular. He was the second most downloaded artist on the audio portal at the time and had a lot of fans by making apparently effortless music, while many other techno artists with way more experience on music production got way less listens and downloads, thus feeling like they had been unjustly stolen from. Overall, the audio portal community was divided. There was the side that just enjoyed Dimrain's music and supported him, and then there was the other side who felt like Dimrain didn't deserve his fame. The haters claimed that he was an effortless hack, while the fans argued that while he did use presets, at least his melodies and composition were good and more so original. Right? Forsaken Neon is undoubtedly one of the most recognizable songs Dimrain has released to date. It is extremely energetic and has a lot of memorable melodies and parts. But back in 2005, after the song was initially released, it sparked quite the controversy as Dimrain was accused of stealing the song. On July 26, 2006, a Newgrounds user by the name of Hayashi posted a thread by the title of Dimrain47, Stolen Composition, in which he claimed that a part of Forsaken Neon was ripped off from the Children of Bottom song Taste of My Sky. And the evidence he provided really speaks for itself. This left a lot of people dumbfounded and confused. Dimrain had already gained quite a reputation as a respected artist, so finding out that he had actually stolen a riff without crediting was a big blow. The thread continued as people were waiting for Dimrain to come and explain himself. Hayashi argued that Dimrain had committed copyright infringement and should have been banned, while others referred to the video game covers and remixes posted on the site and repudiated that stealing a single melody should be okay. The conversation escalated when Hayashi claimed to have a job in an associate of the Recording Industry Association of America, shortened as RIAA, and had emailed them about the event and also stated that he was collecting evidence for a site-wide case of copyright infringement. After a bunch of name-calling and not so intelligent conversation, Dimrain finally appeared and confirmed that yes, the riff in Forsaken Neon was indeed stolen from Children of Bottom. He also revealed that a bunch of other melodies in the song were stolen too, and that the song was the result of him browsing his iTunes library one day. In his defense, he stated that 1. He didn't think it mattered, and 2. He expected any Children of Bottom fan that recognized the melodies to find it cool. This response left a lot of people satisfied, and soon after Hayashi confessed that he didn't actually have a job at RIAA and that he just wanted the song to be taken down. He also claimed that on another Dimrain song, Frozen in Black and Silver, had stolen melodies, but Dimrain denied that accusation and Hayashi never provided any proof to back that up. He denied the accusations, but it was also pretty apparent that he was an alt of Saint Isaiah, and another semi-popular audio portal frequent who had himself been caught of uploading copyrighted content on the site and whose song Dimrain had left a negative review though, leading him to try and seek revenge. After 7 pages, the thread was closed down and concluded with Dimrain walking away as the victor. After the whole Forsaken Neon drama, Dimrain made 2 of his very own forum posts, both of which contain some very interesting information. On July 31st, 2006, Dimrain posted on the audio forums where he proposed a Newgrounds audio portal podcast, which will feature inside talk about the audio portal, info about new rising artists, and help promote songs posted on the audio portal. Naturally, mostly ones from Dimrain himself, of course. This proposal was unfortunately never followed upon, as another user by the name of Pitbull Jones told Dimrain that he was already running a podcast for the audio portal. Dimrain consequently asked if he and Pitbull Jones could collab on the podcast, which Pitbull Jones seemed okay with at the time, but I found out after I contacted Pitbull Jones that he and Dimrain never actually collabed in the end. On August 30th, 2006, Dimrain again posted on the audio forums. He was working on his very own album like he had previously announced on his MySpace and wanted to know how many people would be willing to buy it and for how much. It would have featured remastered versions of Revolutions and Confines of a Memory along with 10 new songs made exclusively for the album, one of which was Through the Gates, an abbreviated version of which Dimrain released on Newgrounds as promotion for the album. He also stated that he was going to refine his style and that these songs would be way better than what was on Newgrounds, although the preview of Through the Gates didn't show too much improvement. A lot of people said they would buy it for Dimrain's requested price of $10 to $12, and Dimrain estimated the release to be around September. But looking for the album nowadays yields no results. Looking at the final posts on the thread, it stated that apparently Dimrain's label got cancelled and thus the album was never released. Which is quite unfortunate, considering that he was a Newgrounds artist trying to publish his own album back in 2006. This was a huge deal at the time, as this was before Spotify and before making and distributing music in a professional manner became available to everyone. Dimrain was even going to mostly distribute the album through CDs, which shows just how different it was back then, with people actually having to collect these weird circles to listen to music. Dimrain was so close to doing something that a lot of NG artists never get to experience, and what makes this even sadder is that it appears that even the name of the album was never publicly revealed. This thread wasn't completely useless though, as in it Dimrain also replied to someone that he was investing on another audio engine, also known as a digital audio workshop or DAW, though he didn't specify which one he was trying out. The rest of 2006 would conclude peacefully. Dimrain started off 2007 by continuing what he had done in the past. He released more techno songs. Although, even with him keeping his style conceptually the same, there were some noticeable differences between his songs from 2005, 2006 and 2007. Most starkly, the length. While his songs from 2005 and 2006 average more or less 3 minutes, his songs from 2007 have an average length of almost 5 minutes. It should be no surprise that during 2007, Dimrain also released his longest song to date, that being Every End at over 7 minutes long. Though length wasn't the only thing Dimrain had improved in the past, as his songs also got more complex, with less repetitive composition and also used way more instruments and sounds, along with his songs also overall getting slightly better in mixing. But there was one thing that hadn't improved though. Dimrain still primarily used presets from FL Studio. It is not a secret that Dimrain used presets. For example, here's a remake of the Dimrain song Surface that I made using only presets from FL Studio, most of them from the plugin Citrus. And here's the original. But this shouldn't be taken as meaning that Dimrain's songs were objectively bad because of their heavy reliance on presets. Really, it can be taken as quite contrary. Because Dimrain was essentially able to craft complex pieces of art using only default tools, like a painter using only a pencil to make beautiful artworks, which can very much be called an achievement in itself. While using pre-made sounds can very fairly be considered lazy, Dimrain still did do all of the composition and melodies on his own. And the fact is, writing a catchy melody is hard for a lot of people. A lot of musicians write only a few really catchy songs during their careers. And then with Dimrain making several catchy songs with listening value for years to come, well, that requires talent. Dimrain had, from the start, a very specific style of music that was instantly recognizable. A blend of techno and trance with the signature 1/16 fast note combos. And while as previously stated he did improve upon it over time, it was still very much recognizable as the Dimrain47 style. And Dimrain would arguably perfect this style in his last song of 2007. On December 5th, Dimrain47 would release to the world Operation Evolution. Operation Evolution is pretty much the ultimate old-era Dimrain47 song. It is a fast and highly energetic techno song with a lot of wild and ecstatic solos and a mixture between happy and sad melodies. The song starts out with a highly epic and fast happy hardcore style part, then evolves into a more slow and melancholic part, leading on to a darker techno and trance part that eventually finishes the song off with a fitting epic conclusion. And while it may not have had the best mixing, as some of the guitar solos are way louder than they should be, it was still a very catchy song composition-wise, and over time, Operation Evolution would become the most famous Dimrain song of his old 2005 to 2008 days. Nowadays, the song sits near the top 10 of the high-ranking classics page on Newgrounds audio portal with over 340,000 listens. An encapsulation of Dimrain's full talent, getting a full exposure it very rightly deserved. After Operation Evolution, Dimrain went quiet on Newgrounds until October 29, 2008, when he published two more songs, The Cryotube and Boston Symphony, both of which were made around the same time as Operation Evolution, though it's unclear why Dimrain delayed releasing them for almost a year. This delay did imply though that Dimrain had not made any new songs in a year, and this foreshadowed what was to come, which was nothing. Dimrain47 vanished for 4 years. And no one really knew where he went, as Dimrain never publicly announced that he was taking a break, or more importantly, why. He never gave an explanation for his absence. Although there is one quite intriguing clue. On the YouTube video for Confines of a Memory, Dimrain mentioned how he wrote a song for his mom, and in the comments of this song you can actually find a comment from her. A lot of people obviously replied to it asking questions about Dimrain, and at one point she mentioned how he switched his major in college midway. And considering that he was around 20 years old at the time of his disappearance, which is around a year or two from graduating, I find it quite likely that this switch in studies may have been a leading cause for his inactivity. On Jetstream's YouTube video description, Dimrain also stated that if he wasn't doing music, he would be doing something in astronomy or aerospace engineering. And considering that his Newgrounds description now reads that he is studying music, while before it only read that he was a college student, I find it pretty likely that Dimrain switched from engineering to music around this time, which may have caused him to not have that much time to compose techno pieces for the internet. Although it should be noted that in the end this is entirely just speculation, and it's also very well possible that Dimrain just went on a creative hiatus. This break would continue throughout till 2011, when Dimrain started to show signs of activity again. For example, he posted all of his songs on his new Superbane 2 YouTube channel, and also began being active on his Facebook, although he didn't release any new songs throughout 2011. But this wouldn't be the case for too long, as on January 21st, 2012, Dimrain returned with a new song that was unlike anything he had done before. On this fateful day, Dimrain47 would release on Newgrounds the piece known as At the Speed of Light. At the Speed of Light was Dimrain's first song in 4 years, and oh boy did he deliver. It was undoubtedly the greatest song Dimrain had released to date, with an extremely catchy key melody, a lot of variation, a clearer mix than anything he had released before, and an epic composition unlike any other. A lot of people immediately got hyped for Dimrain's return, as he was back to the formula and had refined it to be better than ever. It would take a while, but eventually, 8 months after At the Speed of Light, Dimrain released his next song of this new era, Duality. This song was quite different from the status quo, as it was a lot calmer and slower than what Dimrain was known for. Nevertheless, it was still received very positively, and while it has the least listens out of all of his new era songs, it's still only 2,000 away from Dimrain's next song, The Falling Mists, which was released on October 25th, 2012. While Duality stepped away from the way Dimrain songs used to be like, The Falling Mist returned back to the classic Dimrain style, and over time has proved to be one of Dimrain's most successful songs. After The Falling Mists was released, Dimrain asked on Facebook what style people would like his next song to be, but this post was never followed up on. The Falling Mist would prove to be Dimrain's last song, and he would never be heard from again. But of course, as I expect a lot of you know, there's one more aspect to Dimrain's story. In 2014, a certain game rose to huge popularity with Dimrain's songs in the center. The game known as Geometry Dash. On November 9th, 2014, Geometry Dash by Roped Games AB received its 9th major update, in which, among other new big features, there was added the ability to import songs from Newgrounds and use them in custom user-created levels. Custom levels have always been at the core of the game, and with Geometry Dash being a rhythm platformer, music also plays a huge role in levels. And so, when in January 2015, a level by the name of Cataclysm rose to huge fame, using At the Speed of Light as the song, there was no going back. Dimrain47 was destined to rise from a Newgrounds star to a Geometry Dash music legend. Of course, all of the GD viewers in the audience will know that while Cataclysm was the level that kickstarted Dimrain's rise to legendary fame, there was another level, released later on in 2015, that would truly bring Dimrain to the front of GD music. A level created by some of the biggest creators in the game, the hardest challenge in the entire game. On August 12, 2015, the player by the name of Riot, who was a rising star himself, released the sequel to Cataclysm, named Bloodbath. Bloodbath is considered by many to be the biggest level in Geometry Dash history. The influence it has had on the game's community and custom levels over time is immeasurable. Before the video was removed from YouTube, it stood as the most viewed Geometry Dash video of a user-created level ever, boasting over 5 million views. And so, when the level used At the Speed of Light as the song, Dimrain's music was immediately brought to a new, immensely large audience. At the Speed of Light would suddenly appear in thousands of levels across the game, becoming one of the most used and most recognizable songs ever. In 2016, a level by the name of Aftermath was released, which used the final part of At the Speed of Light, with Cataclysm using a little over a minute from the start, Bloodbath using a minute from that, and now Aftermath taking the last minute. The entire song had now been adapted into GD levels, and the whole would by time become to be known as the Apocalyptic Trilogy, also known as the At the Speed of Light Trilogy. Aftermath certainly wouldn't be the last big level to use At the Speed of Light though, as on 21st February 2018, a remake of Bloodbath named Bloodlust was released. It became the level of its update, boasting over 4 million views on YouTube. While Bloodbath stood as the hardest level in GD for 8 months, Bloodlust beat even that at 10 months at being the hardest level in the game. And now there's another At the Speed of Light level in the horizon, that being Apocalyptic Trilogy, which is a full remade version of the Cataclysm, Bloodbath and Aftermath trilogy, casted to also be one of the hardest levels ever created. Before Geometry Dash, At the Speed of Light had a little over 25,000 plays on Newgrounds. Nowadays, it has over 500,000. No doubt due to Geometry Dash's immense success and the song being featured in all of the largest levels in the game. But while it is certainly the most notable one, At the Speed of Light wouldn't be the only song that has been used in GD. After Cataclysm, and another famous GD player by the name of Sobros released his level Forsaken Neon, which used Forsaken Neon by Dimrain. Illusion, one of the most famous and now nostalgic levels ever made, used Operation Evolution. Artificial Ascent, a level held by many as the greatest one of 2016, used the Dimrain song Surface. Sigma by multiple different creators used Forsaken Neon as well. And the list goes on and on. While researching for this video, I found a review of Dimrain47 where the author proposed that it is possible that Dimrain didn't even know about his success. But I beg to differ, as Dimrain was already popular on Newgrounds before 2012 and he was very aware of it. And I would safely say that he knows about this GD fame too. There is something quite unfortunate about Dimrain's newfound GD fame though. While there are others that have researched Dimrain and his past before me, many are still surprised to learn that Forsaken Neon is ripped off, or that Dimrain was planning on releasing an album back in 2006. Even with a huge amount of potential people from the GD community, no one seems to be interested. Dimrain's old Newgrounds days have pretty much faded into obscurity, and only a few audio portal veterans even remember them anymore. Although, honestly, I think that it might be for the better that Dimrain's music is now known better for GD than Newgrounds. The overall view that the GD community has on Dimrain and his music feels a lot more positive than the divisiveness of the Newgrounds audio portal. In the audio portal, Dimrain was merely another musician. To the GD community, he's a legend. And I mean, heck, I wouldn't have even made this documentary or even heard of him without his songs reaching my ears through GD. And while I stated that not a lot of people have been willing to put in the effort to research and learn about Dimrain, I'd assume that a lot of them would be willing to learn. I don't think that anyone will ever make another 30-minute documentary on Dimrain ever again, but at least there was one person who was willing to do it. If Dimrain had never become popular in GD, if he had stayed as a forgotten Newgrounds audio portal veteran, I highly doubt that someone would have ever even gone this far. No one would have probably ever been interested enough in this subject. Will Dimrain ever return to making music? I can't say. Before his return in 2012, he got back on the internet at the start of 2011 and began publishing songs on his YouTube. Now though, we've seen no activity for almost 7 years. Although, if he does not return, The Falling Mists is a pretty perfect song to end on, as it starts off with a sad and melancholic tone, yet concludes with an epic and conclusive ending. First, you feel sad about something being over, but eventually, it all settles down to a satisfying conclusion. One thing's for certain though, if Dimrain were to ever return, he would have a new, much larger fanbase, eagerly waiting for all of his new songs. Maybe he will return, maybe he will stay as a music teacher. Only time will tell. Thank you all so much for watching this. I tried my best to make this documentary as comprehensive as possible, to make it the definitive Dimrain47 documentary, and I think I succeeded quite well. I've been planning this video for over a year now, and it's amazing to finally have it done. I would like to give a few special thank yous near the end now. First off, a thank you to Zoklu for helping me with the research. Also a big thank you to Bread, Tower12346 and Jag from the Replay Value Discord server for reading over my script and helping me fix issues with it. And finally, a giant thank you to just everyone who has been supporting me over the past months. This is the most effort I've ever put into a single video, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and that the wait for it was worth it. And with that, see ya!